Yeah, you know what it is. This name above me, Rogers Park, is a huge part of my upbringing. It is part of my journey that I would never exclude or forget. There are so many things I'd like to say about this community park, but time just won't allow me to. But I do want to say that here is where I learned how to compete as a basketball player. The reputation and the community that this park produced as basketball players is second to none. Rogers Park is really our Rucker Park. Just like in New York, just like in other parts of the country, in Detroit, Chicago, Baltimore, DC, Philly, we own Rogers Park as our mecca of basketball. I'm not excluding Los Angeles because LA also has some great areas where basketball is king. But I'm from Inglewood in this sense of understanding my athletic career began in Inglewood, California. So just to give a few lessons in history, we have seen NBA talent, active NBA players come to this park and work on their game, compete, playing 5-on-5, bringing a level of competition that was second to none. I mean, you really had to bring your hard hat to compete in this gym. And while I was a young fella and my peers, we were in elementary school and middle school watching these legends such as Michael Cooper, Norm Nixon. You had Freeman Williams from Portland State who starred at Manual Arts. You had the great talent out of Crenshaw High School. You saw some of the great point guards that were in that era. You know, there were so many guys, you know, Ralph Jackson, Byron Scott, Jay Humphreys, you know, Barry Walker. You had Dwayne Poley, you had Billy Knox. You just had a slew of high caliber talent in this gym. And it's not a big place. It's really a place where you had to compete, you had to show pride, you had to show grit and commitment. There were even women that would come to this gym and play with the men. I remember vividly Cynthia Cooper coming consistently, playing in this gym against the men. And I'm not talking about my peers. I'm not talking about junior high school and high school guys. She was competing against pros and collegiate players alike. And to see her come with that type of attitude, not realizing she was already from Watts. She played at Lock High. She was a star in her own right. You know the things that she went on to do. But I remember playing at this park as a kid. It was called the Rogers Park League. And we who were in grade school and in middle school looked forward to competing in this league because there was a slew of Inglewood talent. And most of us went to school together. Some went to elementary together, others went to middle school together. But we not only competed, but we forged relationships. We had friendships. And when we got between those lines, none of those things mattered. We were gonna compete. We wanted blood. But I look forward to coming here with my brothers and watching the older guys play. We would sit Indian style around the baselines of this little small gym just so we could be close to seeing guys like Jason Works, who was a playground legend and who had starred at Dorsey High School before going to UC Irvine, and his career probably didn't work out the way he wanted it to, but he gave back to us. And I remember him specifically helping me and others learn the nuances of basketball, learning how to work on our games and to compete, but more importantly, work on our physical bodies. I think he was the first one that introduced me to working out on the sand, whether it was cardio or doing what we know now as resistance training, but back then it was actually just working in the sand. We didn't have these sophisticated names and techniques or terms that was used at that time. We didn't know anything about plyometrics, even though we were jumping on stairs, benches, we were jumping over trash cans. We were doing all types of things. We were trying to touch the ceiling, touch certain things on buildings, but we were trying to work on our game. And guys like Harold Miner, who was very young at the time, because I was just in high school and middle school when he was coming along, and he also adopted a tenacious work habit. He prepared, he worked on his skill set, his shooting, his jumping, and things of that nature. So when we were here, we were able to see the generation that was behind us. I was a part of a group that went really far in high school. Patrick Roy, Teddy Johnson, Brian Browning, Derek Huey, Derek Huey was able to play with the men. We were in middle school, 7th and 8th grade, and they allowed Derek Huey to play with them on the mass court against other men. And we marveled over that because we knew how good he was, we knew how strong he was, and just being around him or being friends with him gave you pretty much respect when you came into the gym, because they equated you to Derek Huey, like, oh, that's one of his buddies or whatever. But I mean, that didn't help us get on the court, because we just weren't at that time skilled enough to get on the court with these grown men. But Rogers Park was iconic too. It had a lot of personality, a lot of character. Lewski Carr, who also played in high school with Russell Brown, he wasn't just a guy who danced on Soul Train. He competed. He played in here. He was picked up consistently, and he was a strong guy. And we watched him play. It was fun to watch because he was always doing something comical. And I'll never forget my moments here with coaches like Al Neal, Ricky Stevens, and some of the older guys that really, just kept us accountable. These guys were father figures to us. Al Neal was like one of my first coaches, especially here at Rogers Park. Thomas Robinson is the first guy I played for at Darby Park. We won a championship my first year with Ken Gatlin and my brother Charles and Daryl Gordon. Daryl didn't play much here at Rogers, but he was a very special talent, and we went on to high school to play, and we had a lot of success there as well. But all of us played here. I remember the younger guys like Kevin Bean Bradley, who came much later, James Gumby Gray, Rico Lowry. There was guys like Stace Bozeman, Dominic Ellison, Chris Ellison. It was all the Ellison, boys. They were all here, honing their skills. Louis, who ended up going to Culver City High. just so much talent. And rest in peace to our boy who played at Inglewood High briefly, and he lost his life, in the streets. But we'll always remember Spider because he was just a great talent, and I saw him do a lot of great things as an athlete. But I had to really respond to what was in my heart, which was to show some of you all how we formed our camaraderie and our community of basketball, and saw these guys come and go and make great contributions to the game. I do believe that many people talk about their heritage and where they're from and different cities around the country, and we too have pride in our community parks, especially Rogers Park. And so I wanted to just say that because it's just endearing to know that there were so many others before me and after me that made a difference right here at Rogers Park. You know what it is, Inglewood for life.